chalice, and I'll read the poem entitled "Let This Be a Place of Silence" by Barbara Stevens. And Katie will light our chalice for us. Okay. Let this be a place of warm and gentle silence. The silence that soothes. The silence that listens. The silence that speaks. Okay, and now in a moment, you will be invited to a breakout room to check in with other UUFM members and friends. And then we'll come back about 4 minutes later.
Oh.
All right. So in place of our story for all ages this morning, I'd like to share a really cool activity for kids and kids of all ages to practice stillness. And this was developed by Linnea Gillen, who teaches yoga and meditation to both kids and adults. So I'm going to use a toy called a Haberman ball. This Haberman ball, you can expand it out and close it back in. I gave this to my daughters years ago, probably close to 2 decades ago for Christmas. And when they moved out, we inherited it back from them. So in this activity, what we're going to do is we'll breathe in through our nose while I open the ball out, and then breathe out through our mouth while I close the ball in. And I'm hoping that we actually have some kids here this morning. I'm really, really hoping that somewhere some kids are present. So I want to ask the kids in our audience to help me count the times that I've opened and closed the ball. And then, so we'll do it 10 times. Okay, so before we start, everybody please sit up straight like a king or a queen. This will make you feel like your royal self. And if you treat yourself like a king or a queen, others will treat you like that too. And so I'm just going to do this slowly. And as I said, kids, please count for me. All right. All right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
No, just one for each opening. So it'll just be. We'll do it when I close it. Then we'll do the count of 1, and then we'll keep going like that. Okay. So yeah, I'll go in.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And then out 1, like that. And then in. And then out 2. Okay. All right. So here we go. So that was 10. And now I'm going to set my timer.
I've got you, Les. I'll let you know when 60 seconds is up.
All right. So then when 60 seconds are up, Katie, could you just tell everybody to now gently open your eyes at the
Yes.
end? All right. Okay. So now what we'll do, I want everyone to just sit still in your royal pose. And you can have your eyes closed, and we'll just be still for 60 seconds. Just continue your breathing like we did.
You can gently open your eyes now.
Thank you, Katie. So we did 10 deep breaths in and out and 60 seconds of stillness. And I want to ask everybody, what did that do for you? And you can raise your hand physically or use the Zoom raise hand, or you can put a chat in the comment section, and Katie will call on folks. And I'm really hoping that we have some kids in our audience today, because I'm really interested to hear what they have to say.
There's a comment in the chat from Lorne.
Go ahead, and you can read out the comments for us.
Okay, Lorne Clements says it made him happy to be able to breathe well.
Mm-hmm.
And Jane Pelletier said it felt very quieting.
Yes, and perfect for our theme of stillness.
Mm-hmm.
Calming.
Yeah.
Kathy and Dan said they were surprised that the visual of the ball made such a difference in their breathing. And Lauren added, very calming.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that exercise on YouTube through our Soul Matters. I agree. It's really a really nice way to illustrate that. Okay, so yeah, so people felt happy, calm.
Dick Beeman said he felt a sense of synesthesia watching the ball while breathing.
Yeah. All of those are really nice things about doing a breathing exercise and just sitting still and calm. And I certainly felt my, I think my heart rate went down a bit. It was I hope that Doug was able to join us and that he got some of that after dealing with that stress. Okay, all right. And so, and did we have any kids here today? Anybody? Any kids? Not hearing anything. So maybe we didn't have any kids today. Well, if anybody has a ball like that, maybe you can try it with, if you want to teach your beloved kids how to do deep breathing. And so now we're going to move on and go to this morning's offertory. And our Helping Hands recipient for this month is the Riley County Humane Society. And so if you want to make a donation to them, just please go to the UUFM website at uufm.net. And at the top of the page, you can click on the donate button, and that will take you to the donation page. And from there, you can find the make a donation to Helping Hands link, or the make a donation / pledge payment to general operations link or button, and just then click on the donate button to whichever you want to make the donation to. And if you prefer to write a check, you can mail it to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Manhattan, P.O. Box 910, Manhattan, Kansas, 66505. And if you write a check, please put a note in the memo area for what you want the funds to be used for. So if there isn't any memo on a check, then it will be deposited into the general operating fund. And during the offertory, please put your joys and concerns into the chat. And so after the musical offertory, we will we'll read the joys and concerns. And this morning's offertory music will be the work entitled Not Yet Remembered. It's by Harold Budd and Brian Eno. And it'll be played by Renee Brown. And I just want to note, I'm personally kind of sad, not kind of, I am sad because I recently heard this week that Harold Budd had just passed away at age 84 from complications from COVID-19. And I've been a huge fan of his music for a long time. So I'm really grateful that Renee is going to be playing this, has played this for us, and she did it on the grand piano at the UUFM, which I think is a special way of her really honoring Harold Budd's music. So we will play that now.
May we take each other's thoughts into the week and know that we have this loving community to share and to lighten our burdens.
Thank you so much, Katie. And so today, our guest speaker will be my friend, Bob Mohr, who will talk about finding stillness through meditation. Bob has practiced Soto Zen meditation and mindfulness meditation for several decades. And Bob recorded his talk with me yesterday. But if anybody has questions or comments to share at the end of the talk, we will have time to do that. For any questions, Bob said I can share his email. And also, I've also been doing Soto Zen meditation for a number of years and mindfulness meditation for a couple of years. So I can also answer questions as well. So the title of Bob's talk is Meditation is a Path for Seeing and Dealing with Life's Changes. And so we'll go into that.
Good morning. My name is Bob Mohr, and I have been invited to give a talk on mindfulness meditation, sitting meditation. And I would like to thank Les Loschky for inviting me and helping me organize this talk. First, we're going to go over some brief things about the practicalities of it. But I have this quote here that kind of is a sign of the times and also tells us what our potential is to handle it, to go with it, to embrace uncertainty. This was by a Stoic philosopher from 120 AD. So examining thoughts has been around for many, many years. So I've had a number of years at this, and I'm still always a beginner. You want to approach it with a beginner's mind, not really knowing what you're going to encounter in your sitting meditation. You're really exploring what the mind does, how it operates. And I would say that you're going to learn through this path skills of self-observation, how to deal with volatile situations, learning to pause and not react as before, have more options in your thinking, in your feeling. And like I said, you're going to learn how to embrace uncertainty, which we all are having to see in this pandemic. To start with, you want to have a quiet place in your home that will be undisturbed for at least 10 minutes. You want to sit in a chair with your back straight, facing a blank wall where there are no visual distractions. You're going to sit up straight in this chair so that you're comfortable and alert as much as possible, and you're going to have your eyes open the whole time. You will be using a timer, and it could be a kitchen timer, or it can be a timer that you have on your smartphone. But the key important thing about using a timer is that it is away from your view during the sitting. Because the mind sometimes will go, oh, I'm bored, I can't wait for this to be over. And they will want to peek over to see how much time is left. So the other thing is, and this is the anchor for your sitting meditation, you're going to be following your breath. Be aware of your breath. You're going to breathe in through your nose, and you're going to feel the air coming in. And you're going to, when you breathe out of your mouth, you're going to feel the air leaving. And this is your anchor when you have found yourself distracted with one thought and it's taking you away. You finally realize that, which is part of the teaching of sitting meditation. You will come back and you will go back to your anchor of the breath so that you are present once again in that chair, looking at that wall. So you're going to start observing your thoughts. And I like to make it like an image of a train station you're at. You're a witness to all these thoughts going by, coming and going, thoughts of the past, thoughts of the future. You may even have thoughts of what you really want to get started on at work today, or family obligation. You're really going to see this hook you, these thoughts, not all of them, and take you away from that station of being present. And part of the teaching is learning when you've been on this thought for a long time and you want to come back to being here in the present. And so that is kind of the metaphor we're going to use. You're at a train station. You're watching all these thoughts coming and going. You're going to have thoughts that hook you, and you won't even know it sometimes. It will take you away, and you will be aware of this finally, and you come back to where you're sitting. And here's the thing about observation. Observation is not a good or bad evaluation of things. You are simply observing. If you start saying, oh, this is a bad thought, or this was a good thought, then you really have not, you've stopped observing it really. Because we want to be as objective as possible and see how your mind is operating. You're getting into a space of vulnerability, really. And that word is a very loaded subject in our culture. People don't want to look vulnerable or weak. However, this is the place you want to be in your practice when you're sitting, because that is where you're going to be peeling off the layers of defenses, of attitudes, opinions, and you are going to get vulnerable with deeper parts of you. You have wisdom you don't know about. You have fears you don't know about, whatever it is. And this is where artists revel in their creativity and bravery. They get vulnerable with their art, their music. They have no trouble eventually getting out in front of that audience or facing a blank canvas, because they know that their vulnerability is the cradle of their creativity and their bravery. And then whatever comes out, it's allowed to happen. So they become, it's not a weakness to feel this. I would say that when you're observing, once again, you're making peace with yourselves in a way, because when you're making peace by just observing who you are, you're also going to make peace with the way you observe people and way you relate to the world. You're going to feel dramatic at times and impulsive, and really enlightenment a lot of times is just lightening up about yourself. I saw this story where this woman was having a meltdown at a store because she did not want to wear a mask, for instance, and she was lashing out at people. And in the past, I would have just discounted her feelings and what was happening. I didn't really have the information, and I would not judge her properly. We don't know what's really going on inside her. And I thought, maybe she got some bad medical news. Maybe she doesn't have food at home anymore. We don't know why. It may not have to do anything with the mask. So you get to learn empathy more by having empathy with your thoughts, your feelings. You become more friends with yourself. You have a more direct relationship with your thoughts, and you're not playing games as before. You're in a protected space by sitting and giving this gift of awareness to yourself. You're uncovering illusions and dreams that you mix up with reality, I could say. And so when you go out, you're not, let's say you get very dramatic about something, you're turning down that temperature in that situation about that subject with other people by not being the puppet to that situation. You're transferring the wakefulness that you have here in your meditation out to wherever you go with people, with situations. That is the gift that meditation can give you. You're not the puppet. I would say, for instance, Another subject is worrying. That is loaded with imagination and has nothing to do with fact often. So you lessen its power when you get to examine the irrationality behind worrying. And you develop patience with that. You develop an ability to spend more time examining it than quickly reacting. Now we're getting into acceptance of our thoughts and our feelings when we're sitting. And I would say that acceptance is kind of like an emotional understanding. You are basically learning to understand your emotions better. And acceptance is the word with the Latin root words to take. And you've heard the phrase, I can't take it anymore. Well, that means you can't accept it. So I would say that the more you can accept what you're witnessing and not put a good or bad feeling to it, the more you understand totally what you are seeing, what your reality is. There was a story about the Green Berets that I thought interesting in relation to meditation. They were invited to go to a Buddhist monastery and sit with monks. Now, these are people, Green Berets, trained to blow things up, scale cliffs, have a very narrow focus with reality, physical reality. And here they were being asked to sit still for a good long period of time, looking at a blank wall and being at rest, having the willingness to look at their thoughts as they came and go without acting on them. And they found it incredibly stressful. They were just amazed at how tough it was. It was a battle of itself for them. And they came to walk away from that with an admiration to the discipline these monks had. So I would just say that even Green Berets will struggle with this. So you're not alone if you find it a struggle, sitting, looking at that blank wall, waiting for that timer some days. That's what happens to me. I will be anxious to get going. There's a restlessness that you're going to make friends with and not let it drive you. So that is part of it. The emotional patterns you're going to witness are important. You're training some new awareness muscles. So I would like to just say one thing about what the Buddha said thousands of years ago. He told his followers not to believe anything he said unless they experienced it and tested it for themselves. And that is what we want today from this talk, that you do the simple things, and I'm going to review them over again. We are going to sit in an undisturbed part of your home for at least 10 minutes. We are going to look at a blank wall so there is no visual distractions. We're going to look with our eyes open the whole time. We will have our back nice and straight so that it keeps us, helping us alert. I might add that it's best in the morning when your mind is fresh. But most important all is the anchor of our breath. We go to that. We breathe in slowly in our nostrils and we feel that air. And then we breathe out in our mouth and we feel that air. That will help build awareness to your practice by going to the breath. It's your anchor when you want to come back to the present after you've suddenly been hooked by a thought at that train station and carried away. That's okay. You've got to make sure that you're not feeling guilty or bad about your experience. I had a friend who, he tried meditation. He came back to me and said he was just, all this anger came up. And I told him, there's no good or bad. That was your experience. Learn to be friends with it, to observe it so it doesn't control you. There's so much aggression and anger in the world. We can add peace to the world by our practice. So I would just like to express my gratitude for your attention. And I hope, I'd like to thank Les Loschky for his guidance in doing a good outline for this talk. And I hope that meditation in your home will bring some balance, some peacefulness, some mindfulness, some wakefulness that you carry on into your life.
Let's see. So I think we usually end about this time. But if anybody wants to chat during our coffee and conversation about meditation, you can just stay in the main room. You can also go to a breakout room and chat about that or anything you'd like to, or something not about meditation in the breakout rooms. And before we go to that, though, I want to give some closing words. And so I'm going to read a poem, Anchors of Calm, by Reverend Scott Taylor. When the winds of your daring days begin to swirl, may you find your breath. May you remember that still point inside that is always waiting to welcome you back home. And from that place of sacred peace, may you be an anchor of calm for those who need it as much as you. Go in peace, go in love. Amen.
And Les, I see there's a question already in the chat here for you from Kathy and Dan, and it says, can you talk a bit about your experience? How do things evolve after years of practice? Any book you might recommend?
Okay. Yeah, I can recommend a book, but not immediately offhand. I've read various books, so I can come up with one and send it in the weekly announcements thing. No, that's not it. So yeah, so I'll send that, and Bob can also suggest a book. I know that when we were talking about it, he said, don't get too caught up in the books, though. Better to do the meditation than to read about it. But I can just find a book. Thanks, hon. So, but yeah, and also I will give, Bob said I could share his email. So I'll do that as well. And yeah, the main thing I have noticed over time is that it has gotten easier for me. So I started out with like doing a 5-minute meditation. By the way, I think if you haven't meditated before, I would start with 5 minutes. And then if that seems good and it's not a problem and you want to keep going, go up to 10. And then you can just keep increasing it at whatever level feels appropriate to you. A pretty common one for people that do it frequently. I think Bob says he does like 30 minutes a day. When I do it, I usually do it for 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. Some people do it for an hour, but I think 5 minutes is great. And that's much better than nothing. Much, much better. So, yeah. So that's one thing I've found is that it has gotten easier.
Speaking about much better than nothing, I spent a lot of my younger life thinking that if I couldn't like really get focused into a seated meditation, that there was no point in even trying. And then this friend of mine, dear friend, she shook up my world when she told me that every day She lays flat on her back in bed and does what she calls her 20-minute meditation. And some people could say it verges toward a nap. That might be fair. But I started to try this thing that she does, which was just to consciously, be inward and be still for that much time every day. And I found like it worked for me. I loved it. It was this calming, no pressure. I took the pressure off myself of performing in some way and just relaxed.
That's great, Katie, because yeah, a lot of one thing I have discovered with regard to meditation is that there are so many different ways. There, what Bob described is really a combination of Soto Zen, so sitting and staring at a blank wall, and noticing your breath, together with mindfulness meditation, which is being aware of the stream of thoughts and feelings that go through your head. But there are many, 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 many different traditions and ways: eyes open, eyes closed, sitting cross-legged, sitting in a chair, laying in a bed, having a mantra or not. There's so many different ways.
There's a comment in the chat to that effect, and it's from Judy Nicholson, who says that she finds meditating in groups to be really wonderful.
Yeah. That can be really nice too. Yeah. I've done some meditating in groups over the years, and I really enjoyed that, especially when we went to Japan a couple of years ago for 6 months. I found a Soto Zen monk, and not a monastery, but a temple, and he would do Sunday meditations. That was really fun.
And Lauren Clement just put in the chat that he felt that sense of meditation together, even on the Zoom. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I think that we did have that today. Yeah, with the ball. And I would say one thing I have found too is it definitely puts me in a better place mentally. Like, I think that it's much easier for me to be my best self when I'm meditating or have meditated. Well, one other thing that I have found in the last few years that I hadn't done before, which is, and John Olu does this, it's the what's called the loving kindness meditation. And that's used in a lot of mindfulness meditation. Actually, that's the best book. Okay. There's a, I'll try to remember the title of it. I think it's like How to Meditate in Simple English, or something like that. And it's by a mindfulness meditation monk, Buddhist monk. That one is probably the best book I've found. And that has the loving kindness meditation in there, where you start by saying, let me be, gosh, now that I'm on the spot, I'm blocking on that.
Is this like a Tonglen meditation? I've heard about that, where you begin by sending love to those for whom it's very easy for you to send love to, and then you progressively move towards sending love to, I don't know, the person who gets under your skin the most.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, let me be calm, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to me. May no difficulties come to me. May no problems come to me. Let me always meet with spiritual success. let me also have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. And then the same thing for your family. Let my family be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May no problems come to them. May they always meet with spiritual success. May they also have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures of life. And then for your teachers, then for your friends, then for all indifferent persons, and then for your enemies, and then finally for all living beings. And after you go through all that, and if you're actually thinking about what you're saying as you say it, it puts you in a really good place emotionally and cognitively. And then if you start the breathing meditation that Bob mentioned, after that, it's a very different experience, because you're not you're starting off at a good place to get into the breathing meditation, rather than going into the breathing meditation with irritating thoughts running through your head and things like that.
Sarah Desmet has added a comment here. You're thinking of others and not yourself, or the observed thoughts of the meditation, if you've prepared that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
I have a question on the timing of the day that you find most meditative for you. Like, for instance, my time of most, I don't know, feeling that I have either in meditation or just in some kind of reverie or whatever is night time. I mean, I can feel that essence really that I would describe as meditation more at night. And I might even be doing something on my computer or whatever, but it is so calming for me to do that at night. And I'm not a morning person. So I just wonder if you found a time of day, or I imagine it would be different with maybe everybody,
Mm-hmm.
you or Bob, you know, what do you find about the time of day for meditation?
Yeah. And I have to admit, I really admire Bob, because he does it 30 minutes a day, and he has done it for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done it on and off. I did it for like a year on a probably at least 5 days a week basis. And I've done it for 6 months or 3 months on a nearly daily basis, but I don't think I've had quite enough discipline to make it a everyday thing. So I've kind of done it at all times of the day. I have found that when I'm sleepy, it's not a good time to do it, because unless you're doing a sleep meditation, you don't want to fall asleep during your meditation.
Right, but for some people that's in the morning. I'm a morning.
Right.
I mean, I sleep in the morning, or I'm awake at night. It's
Yeah. So yes, it depends on, like Katie was mentioning, her friend, it might shade into taking a nap. And there are actually sleeping meditations. And I know one person told me that he liked to do just a 5-minute meditation right before bed to put himself in a really good state of mind for going to sleep. So I think, it really depends.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And it looks like Sarah had placed in the chat that she likes to roll right out of bed onto a cushion to meditate as her way of waking up and processing dreams,
Oh,
which
wow.
does sound like a wonderful start to the day.
Yeah. And to try not to fall back asleep, she says. Yeah.
I'm also not a morning person, so if I were to try that in the morning, Pat, I'd be like you're saying, I would fall immediately back to sleep. My friend who taught me her laying down in the middle of the day kind of approach, she always did it sort of right after lunch,
Oh,
and it was her way of like resetting between the parts of the day. And if the day was stressful, you know, she would sort of have that as a way to reset. And I started trying it one week when I was alone in London, and it was amazing. I had the most amazing, centered, less anxiety, you know, feeling more whole. So it's something I try to do, but I'm not consistent in the way that Les has been describing, or that Bob is consistent. And that's a goal for me this year. I think it would help make my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.